My name is Sam Rosario. We're talking with Tom Wesley, the candidate for the 2nd District, and we're giving a nice long interview and spending some time together, getting to know each other. So thank you very much for being here.
This is fun. You know, I have to admire this studio. It reminds me of the Today Show right there, Rock Center. And
absolutely. And you got a nice clear shot of the Turtle Boy.
I don't even want to go there.
Wait, dude, what are you talking about?
You don't have to like polish it or anything just to be part of the club.
Actually, you know, we should just go over there. But I don't know. We might get arrested for touching it. But yeah, it's the Turtle Boy.
No, I have an aspiring political career here, so I don't want to be arrested for
I got to
polishing
get you a picture
Boy.
Standing next to it.
No,
that's what we want. Put that right on your website. Speaking of website, how do we get a hold of your website? Let's talk about that.
Well, the name is Tom Wesley, and not surprisingly, the website is www.tomwesley.com.
Wow, that's a hard
W-E-S-L-E-Y.
one. There you go. All right.
It's a great. Actually, I look at that. You know, it is not a destination. My website is a portal. And one of the things that I like to say, that you talked about the Brown phenomenon before.
Yeah.
The people who made his website and the social media so vibrant and expansive in terms of its reach, I had him before he had him. So that's great. He had an election before me, but we've been at this a long time. So if you go to my website and go to the home page there, you're going to see the links to Facebook and the links to Twitter and the links to YouTube. And I'm a prolific vlogger, I guess they call it now. I have my own little piece I call On Tour with Tom. And I take my little webcam with me and stick it on the dashboard of my car, because I think that's still legal in Massachusetts.
Another Republican with a truck. Oh, that's all we freaking need. Oh, come on. Oh, here we go. All right, what do you drive? Toyota? What do you drive? Seriously.
You know, I got to tell you, the Wesley fleet. Look, I have 5 drivers in my family. You have 4 vehicles.
No, wait, you didn't answer the question.
I'm going to.
Answer the question.
I drive my wife's car.
Oh, come on. Oh,
I drive a Subaru Forester.
Okay, that's all right. There's nothing wrong.
It's got 150,000 miles
I think that people want to know, boxers or briefs?
Not going there. Not going there.
I'll ask your wife later. How's that? Come on.
That's like a 3-beer question. That's a 3-beer question.
All right, we'll have 3 beers and then we'll go. How's that?
And I still won't answer it.
Okay.
That's just my way of getting 3 beers out of it.
I see. It's commando. That's what it is. That's all right. Now we're getting to know the candidate, ladies and gentlemen. But no, I'm sorry. Look, I'm trying to be, and this is the nice hour. We're trying to keep it clean. So I'm sorry. I just like,
Is anybody listening to this show on a Saturday night?
Nobody listens.
Saturday night?
Nobody listens to this show.
I'm the only person, and you're the only person. I have nothing better to do on a Saturday night.
508-438-0965. Call and hang up. How's that? Just to prove to him that the phones work, actually.
We're begging you. We're begging you.
No, 508-438-0965. There's absolutely nobody listening. It's just me and you, so don't worry. You know Richard Neal's campaign's listening. They're recording it.
I see the bug right up there in the corner.
Oh, yeah. But, it is WCRN and probably the most Republican radio station around. They let this Democrat talk. I mean, for God's sakes. I mean, and then guess what? I'm going to the Republican convention.
By the way, you're welcome to my hospitality.
Actually, the phone rang and hung up.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
I have to write Mrs. Rosario, Mrs. Wesley. Yeah, I have to write her a note.
The one caller that called. There you go. And it was probably my 13-year-old daughter listening, going, "Oh, I'll do that for Dad." My only fan. Woohoo!
No, that's good.
Anyway, no, seriously, let's go. Let's talk about you a little bit more, and let's, tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I went to the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. I had a great life, and I mentioned that earlier, and grew up on Long Island, and kind of lived the American dream. Got a chance to go to an academy, and I did that. Began traveling the world at a young age. I tell people I made my first airplane trip in 1969. Believe it or not, I flew out to a scout ranch in Philmont, New Mexico. And I was an Eagle Scout, and it was a great experience. And my next airplane ride, I flew out to the West Coast with a sea bag in one hand and a sextant in the other, and I caught a ship on the West Coast. That was 1975.
Oh, wow.
And I haven't stopped traveling since. So I've been what I consider to be a career citizen.
Yep.
I've had an opportunity to travel the world over and over again for the last 35 years. It has been probably the single constant in my life has been extensive international travel. And it's really shaped me. I mean, my time in the Navy was one that taught me a lot about honor, taught me a lot about taking care of my troops first and me second. It's an annealing process, and being a pilot, There's some interesting moments of self-introspection, shall we say, when things start going wrong in the cockpit, and you realize that you've got people behind you that are depending upon you to save their lives. So that to me was a great formative experience, and I began to translate that into my work life almost immediately. But before I left the Navy, I had an opportunity to work in the Pentagon. And so I lived inside the Beltway, as I was talking about earlier. I understand those pressures down there. I worked in the Pentagon with the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and was involved in worldwide military command and control systems, and some little touches of nuclear policy and communications policy and things like that. And then off to the Chief of Naval Operations Staff for a while, and then off to the private sector. I worked for some very large aerospace companies. I worked in sales and marketing. I've transitioned to the operations side. I've run factories. I've opened factories, closed factories, moved factories, and I've had my own business for 5 years ago, 5 years or so back in the 90s. So I've made payrolls, I've created value, I've made budgets and that sort of thing.
Speaking of that, let's talk about some of the issues. I think one of the issues that I see on your website the most is about the economy. Jobs, jobs, jobs.
Absolutely.
As you say.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that. How do you believe that, how do you believe that you can help create jobs in this country?
Well, one of the things we can do certainly is to stop losing and osmosing jobs out, hemorrhaging jobs, frankly, out offshore. Companies seem to get a bad rap all the time, large corporations for moving jobs offshore, but really I believe it's corporate tax policy that moves more jobs offshore than anything else. There's really three elements into manufacturing costs. So you've got labor, you've got material costs, which are commodities and things, and you have overhead. So you've got labor. Look, if you're not going to compete against $1 an hour wage. Those types of jobs and that type of product are going to be made. This world is flat. It can be made in some place where it's really inexpensive to do. Material costs are about the same around the world. You're buying commodities here and there. What really is the big kicker here is overhead. So what does it cost for you to operate a business, whether it's in Worcester or in Springfield or in Milford, Massachusetts? What does it actually cost to comply with government regulations? And then when you actually are fortunate enough to make some money, what are the tax rates like? 35% in the United States. That's the highest in the world. So what we're competing against, now take a look at this. We always think about losing jobs off to Asia. That's easy, China and India and offshoring jobs like that. But, we have 450 companies, American companies, with great jobs that used to be in this country, resident over in Ireland. And we don't really think about losing jobs to Europe. And you look at the labor rates in Ireland, they're 2/3 to 3/4 of what they are here. So it's not $1 an hour jobs we're losing. What Ireland has is a tremendous tax advantage. So they're in the 10 to 12% range, and effectively it runs lower than that. So we've thought nothing about moving jobs offshore. Very good, high-paying, high-quality technical jobs have left this country and gone to Europe, strangely enough, and they've done it, ironically, to Europe, and we've done it because of tax rates.
But, there's some Democrats that would say, so what you're advocating for is, corporate tax cuts, giving tax cuts to the rich. As you hear that mantra that goes out there is that Democrats would say you're giving corporate welfare. You're going to give, tax cut to the rich, and they're just going to make more millions.
Well, I'm a big advocate of free enterprise. But, you take a look at corporate tax policy, and it is a Gordian knot. All right, and we try and incentivize and disincentivize all sorts of behaviors based upon these very transient and temporal kind of tax changes. We could take a look at something as dramatic as something called the fair tax. Fair tax puts a tax on consumption. Think of it, in a sense, as this value-added tax that they're talking about. But rather than it being additive, an additional sales tax, you'd get rid of the income tax. You would tax consumption of new products. And so if you didn't want to pay taxes, you'd buy used products, and you would exempt certain areas, such as the more Maslowian needs, if you will, food and shelter and things like that. There are remedies out there, but what makes the world go round in Washington is who can get benefits and tax breaks, et cetera, from the government.